course, it's the James Krause. I think it's been 10 years, 12 years. I'm either commentating or interviewing you for your fights. It's been crazy.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, I was interviewing another fighter the other day, and I realized something about myself that I didn't know before. I'm actually a fanboy, which is a little
Yeah.
strange for me. So, like, I've been stalking the crap out of you. So, from the moment that you left for St. Louis, all the way through everything you post, everything you got going on, I'm paying attention to it because I kind of want
Yes,
to see
sir.
what's going on. I kind of want to see what's happening once you get in there, and you give a good insight and a backdrop. Like, you're kind of opening up the curtain a little bit for a lot of the fans of what's going on, behind the scenes that most folks don't know about. But in the middle of that, you still are in the hotel. You're still eating, you're still eating out because you're not at home. It's not your refrigerator. It's not your bed. Your kids aren't around. Your sister's not around. The wife's not around. Like, you're just you're isolated still because you were in Denver for a while too, right? Training before you took off with Mark.
I've been traveling a ton, man. I've been all over the place. I was with Tim in Canada, with Tim in Vegas. I was in Denver before that. Came back for a couple of days, went back to Denver, came back home to Kansas City, and then left for St. Louis. So I've been all over the place.
So how do you keep it together? Because you got a lot of crap going on. The gym, your family. Like, it's a big burden you have. We talk about it quite a bit, but every time it seems to be a little bit easier on one hand, but then a little bit harder on the other.
Bro, it's the same answer every time. I don't. This is. It's all I know. You know what I mean? It's all I know. It's this is what I tell everybody. This is the analogy that I give. I'm afraid of heights, but if I went skydiving every day for a year, it wouldn't be a big deal anymore on the 365th day. So it's just all I know. It's all I know how to do. And I mean, with the gym, there was a I guess it was like, hey, how do you run this gym and how do you do
Yeah.
this? Well, like, I've been gone, so the gym's running itself. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't been home, so I haven't been able to run the gym. The gym does fine without me. Uh, I've been traveling a lot, and I mean, if anybody's hung around me long enough, you know that I'm gonna get my workouts in regardless
Mhm.
of who or what's there. But I make sure I plan accordingly, man. I don't do anything like none of this happens by accident.
Right.
You know what I mean? I plan accordingly. And I make adjustments. I know people in just about all these towns and cities. So it's like you just hit them up and say, "Hey, man, can I stop by?" No big deal. That and then Zach has also been with me with the travels for the most part. So it's we're getting ready. We're good training partners. I'm fighting a southpaw.
Mhm.
He's a southpaw. He's fighting a good kickboxer.
You're talking
I
about Zach Cummings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
I'd like to think I'm a good kickboxer. So
You're all
you
right.
know,
You're decent. You're okay.
yeah. We're good training partners for each other. So I mean, I can assure you. Matter of fact, if anything, it's actually helped just because I am able to get away from the routine, and for me, the routine of being home and in my gym sometimes is worse than being
Mhm.
away and and just grinding away because once you're on the road, you don't have anything else. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
this right here, this hotel
Yeah.
room and bed, or it's you go train. That's you got a hotel or you have a bed. You can go party or whatever, but we all know what happens. That's a whole nother interview. So
Yeah.
that I mean, I keep my program 100, and I'm ready for the fight, and I think my preparation's been great.
Did you have to do anything different to get ready for Alex, or was it just the same? Everything's the same again. Just trying to improve your own skills.
Uh, I don't think that I ever do anything the same. I really have tried to be the type of person that is a different fighter every single time out. There was a small gap uh, where that wasn't happening, and that's when I decided to make some adjustments. I got out to Denver, and I think that helped me a ton with the Factor X team. Uh, but I mean, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is I think I have a lot more tools in my tool belt that people haven't seen yet. The people that know me know they're there, but I just haven't had a chance to showcase them yet. So I'm really excited about that. I had this last year has been I've pretty much only had one real fight. The Ultimate Fighter I don't even count because it's such a difficult thing. The cage is smaller. It's there's so many different factors that play. Weight cuts, opponent changes, all that. It's hard to factor any of that in. So I've had like one real fight, and I've made a lot of improvements over the last year. Even being in the game for a long time, I really think some of my best improvements have been over this last year. So I'm excited to go show everybody. Ultimately at the end of the day, you got to go in there and you have to be able to show those. So I could tell you how much I'm improving, but now I have to show you how much I'm improving.
You look at UFC.com and they do a great job of giving the averages for takedown and grappling and breaking everything down. And if you look at you and Al, you're pretty much even on everything. Like it's pretty even. But you said, hey, I have more tools in the toolbox than he does. So for the person at home that only watches the main event, co-main event, they're never watching the undercards, they're never watching the first fights, they don't know anything about you. And you say, hey, like I have more tools in the toolbox, but they're looking at UFC.com and they're going, well, this fight's even. It could be a pick'em. Either one of these guys is going to win. Where are you significantly better than Alex is? That for sure because you've seen his tape.
You want the real answer, and the real answer is everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. I'm better than him everywhere, and there's no question about that. I don't even think he thinks differently of that. What Alex does bring to the table is he's a durable dude. He's gritty, he's nasty, and he's a gamer. If I'm him, I try to put this fight in a phone booth and make it as ugly, gritty, and nasty as possible. But I mean, if we're talking about, you're a smart dude. You've been around the sport. If we're talking about technical skills, and once again, this is not a technique off. This is a fist fight. So this doesn't mean dick whenever we get in there and fight. But in terms of technical skills, I'm better than him absolutely every aspect of the sport. You put me in a kickboxing match against him, I'll beat him. You put me in a jiu-jitsu match against him, I'll beat him. You put me in a wrestling match against him, I'll beat him. I'll beat him every single discipline there is. But you know as well as I do that really doesn't mean anything. So I've rolled with him. I've trained with the dude before.
Okay. I heard that, but I wasn't sure if that was true or not.
Yeah, I've trained with him multiple times, and I've just thrashed him everywhere. I do whatever I want to him. But this, as well as I do, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't matter. That's the gym. The gym is not a fight. It's different. It is completely different. And I know that going into this. I know in terms of technical ability, there's levels of this game, and I'm on a different level than him. I don't think he's fought anybody as good as me. I for sure can tell you he has never fought the same caliber of people that I have fought. Right. I mean, that's obvious. Just look at that. You know what I mean? So I think there's just different levels, and I think what we're going to see on Sunday is the levels being exposed.
And then you go home Monday, right? You go back to the house, and you're going to be fitting right back into family life again and gym life. Okay.
Yep.
And you'll be in the gym Tuesday morning running practice again.
Monday evening.
Oh, you land in time to get in for the evening classes.
I'm driving home.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So, knowing that you can beat this guy up so easily, did that make parts of training camp kind of like, dude, why am I suffering through this? This guy's not even near my neighborhood. Like, why am I getting up again? Let me just take an extra half day off this week. Was any of that going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, so like, first of all, I want to make it very clear that I don't underestimate him at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, I said that I'm technically better than him, but this is not a technical. This is a fight. You know what I mean? And I know that, and he's a fighter. He's good at making fights. You know what I mean? Like, he's not. I mean, if we had a contest of who would make the cleanest technique video for how to do a guillotine or how to do a jab low kick, I'm for sure going to beat him all day. But that's not what this is about. So in no way, shape, or form am I underestimating this guy. I don't underestimate anybody. And really, I don't really care whether it's Alex White or whoever. I don't really worry so much about what they're doing. I focus on me. You know what I mean? I focus on my competition, which is me. And it's, you know as well as I do, if you don't evolve with this game, you get phased out really quick. Yeah. So my job is to evolve every time out. And I think that I've done a good job of that every single time out. I think I add tricks and different things every time out. But, to answer your question, absolutely not. If anything, it's the opposite. I'm getting older. I'm 31, but this will be my 55th fight, pro and amateur. So if anything, you got to turn it up more.
Yeah, no, and get smarter about it. Not only you have to turn it up more, but you have to be smart about how you turn it up more. Because you turn it up too much, you just break down and nothing. Yep. And that's the thing people don't get. They're like, oh, well, hey, Couture fought until he was 45. How is that possible? Well, he didn't have 55 fights. You know,
And he didn't start until he was in his mid-30s.
yeah, so it's a totally different ball game when you're starting at like 18, 19 years old, and then you're 31 and you've had 55 fights. You're like, crap, man. Like this has been, it's a long life already that you've
Yeah.
been dealing with this heat and punishment. Yes, Randy was on the world team for Greco-Roman wrestling, so yeah, it was a grind, but you weren't getting punched in the head. You weren't getting kicked in the knees. You weren't getting your arms ripped off and your shoulders tweaked as you're trying to, guys rolling into an omoplata when you shoot on them, kind of stuff. So it definitely it goes into age of fight life, not age of life. And
Yeah.
that's a different ball game. Do you feel like you've got a lot left in the tank? Is year wise, like you feel like, hey, you got through this training camp, you're getting ready to make weight, you're in the hotel, and like, oh yeah, I can, now I'm through all this whole mess, I can go another 10 years, 5 years.
Oh, 10 years. God, no. I hope I'm not fighting in 5 years. I don't have a number. I actually have this discussion a lot because my coach is sitting right next to me. I know he's saying we had this discussion the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the guy that hangs around 1 or 2, 3 fights too long. I want to be the guy that maybe leaves 1 or 2 or 3 fights a little early. Like I just don't. I don't want to be that. I don't. You know what I mean? Like I want people to remember me as the best I possibly could be. And I've had this discussion with him many times. Like, hey man, like, what does that look like? And I trust him with this. That he'll tell me. And I think he will, because he's done it for other people and lost them as fighters over it. But I don't have a number. But I will say this: I said the instant that it becomes either A, not fun for me anymore, or B, I feel like I've lost a step physically, I'll step away, and I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. But I actually think it's the opposite right now. Like I'm really enjoying competing. This is my best weight cut by far that I've ever had to 55. Well, I have. Yeah. In terms of where I am comparatively speaking, obviously I haven't made the cut yet, so it's hard to say. But I'm literally like 5 to 7 pounds ahead of schedule than I normally am. So, like, it's just because I think I'm locking down. I'm a lot smarter than I used to be in terms of what I'm eating. I think as in our youth and fighting, you're like, I know I can get away with this.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I haven't made lightweight in 2 years, so it's like, I should probably lock this up. I probably shouldn't mess around too much. But and physically, I feel fine. I feel like I'm in great shape. I feel like I'm strong. Technically, I feel like I'm better than I ever have been. I don't think I've lost it at all. But the second I do, I'll walk away, no problem, and start coaching full time.
I think the big reason why everybody always asks you about it is because you've already got the gym and you are so passionate about coaching and teaching. You've already made your exit plan. Where a lot of fighters don't make their exit plan until, hey man, I got like maybe 2 more years left in this game. I better get an exit strategy put together. And that's a little bit too late. You started yours way early. So when you walk away from a financial standpoint, knowing how many times you fight a year at your best, like if there's like, I can fight 3 times, I can fight 4 times, you know what you're going to make financially. For you to walk away from fighting, how much will that hurt you?
Well, I think that's the trick is you have to, I think the problem is these guys, they don't start thinking about this until they're already getting phased out. You know what I mean? Until like things are getting tough, and then they're put in a situation where there's a ton of pressure put on them, and they have to make something happen fast. And anything worth a shit doesn't happen fast. It just doesn't. I have my plan in effect, so for me, it's not a hurt, it's a replace. Like before I quit, I need to. How would I replace that? And I have answers to those questions. With me quitting fighting, it's kind of give and take. Fighting requires a ton of time and energy, especially at the highest level. And you, of all people, have criticized me the most over this. And it's great. I don't mind it at all because I don't feel like most people can do it. But when fighting stops, time starts. I have way more time now. You know what I mean? So like I can do other things. So it's not a thing of like, will this hurt me? It's a thing of like, okay, I have this time now. I'm going to replace it with this that will bring in X amount of dollars or whatever. You know what I mean? Like and that's the thing. So like, let's just say, for example, I make 6 figures, $100,000 just for a nice round number. I make $100,000 if I fight 3 times a year, which that's not true, but we'll just use numbers. I gotta find what I'm going to replace to make $100,000 in 12 months. You know what I mean? Or more. That's any business person is going to tell you that, you know what I mean? And that problem is most of these guys aren't business people, and nobody's telling them these things. So they just have a ton of pressure on them, and of course they're already on the downslope at that point by the time they're even thinking about that.
Unless they got some big sponsor is going to bring them on board and allow them. Oh, we'll make you vice president of athletic recruitment. In our company, replace that money. Unless they got something like that going on, most fighters are like, man, I'm back to personal training. I'm at a gym, 6 hours a day trying to make $50 an hour, and that's just what
it's
I'm
the
doing.
Hardest sport in the world to quit. I said this in an interview earlier. It's the hardest sport in the world to quit because I would say 90% of fighters come from one of two places or both. They come from poverty or they come from broken homes. Mm-hmm. So they don't know financial. They don't know financials. They don't know what it's like to save. That they just don't know. They haven't been taught, and it's definitely a learned trait. So whenever they get all this money, they're like, hey, I'm spending this, or I'm gonna live off this or whatever. They just don't make good decisions with their money, and it ends up biting them in the ass later.
Yeah, and it's also a deal of that if they do get advice, it's always like, let's take some of your money and invest in my thing. Let's invest in my company, and I'll help you out. I'll give you 20% of whatever, or here's some stocks of my company that are worthless. But you gave me 20 grand and you're getting nothing back, and that's one of the biggest issues going on right now, with fighters, especially because it's blown up so much. I mean, you've seen the expansion of the sport where you would have to beg and plead to find an amateur fight someplace, and now you're like, okay, when's my next fight? Okay, it's scheduled in 3 months, and it's locked in, and it's going to happen. There's no worrying about it getting canceled, or a guy may not show up because he gets hurt, or a guy may not make weight, but that's on the fighter. It's not the fact the promotion just went under, which happened a lot in the beginning.
There's no lack of fights anymore. That's a for sure thing, man. It's just it's sad. It really is sad that there's not any type of way to like let these guys know, there's a better way to do things. And that was my thing. Like whenever the UFC did the big athlete retreat, like none of that was ever brought up. And I felt like that was something that they really missed the boat on, is what to do with your money. Like for me, like if somebody says, hey, I don't know what to do with $10,000 or $20,000, I'm like, okay, dude, without even having a discussion, there's 1,000 things we can do. But the first one is buy a rental property, and you know what I mean? Put 20% down.
Let's be honest though. When you talk to like Max Holloway, and he says, and you say they have the exact same conversation, it's not $20,000 or $30,000 because of where he lives. The housing market is so expensive; it's insurmountable. It's difficult to buy in Hawaii.
Sure.
It's crazy. But if you're in Kansas City, that 20, 30 grand goes a long way. It depends on where you're at too.
And that's true. But the thing is the places that the amount is insane is also the places where there's insane opportunity. There's not insane opportunity where I live. I mean, you know what I mean? There's just not a lot. There's not a lot of money where I live, and it makes it more difficult to figure different things out. But I'm not from Hawaii, so I can't tell you. But I can promise you, if I spend 2 days there, I'll find something like, oh, well, yeah, this makes sense for sure. Yeah. Like we can do this. Or, dude, there's investors all the time that are looking to get involved with guys like you, Max Holloway. I mean, who would not want to get involved with that dude to use his name to promote their business, bring in a partner. And of course there's shady people around, but you gotta.
Well, I was just using Max as the example because, living in Hawaii for 2.5 years, we just moved to LA. So I'm in LA now, but living in Hawaii, like there was no way we could buy a place. Like it was like super difficult.
LA. I was just out in LA for the analyst thing not too long ago. Man, there's Ferraris and Lambos and G classes and Bentleys and Aston Martins. They're every block there. It's nothing there. Dude, you don't see those cars where I live. No.
Underneath where I live right now, we have a shared parking space, obviously like a parking garage type space. We have a Maybach, two Maseratis and a Audi. What is that? The Audi 5 sports car, whatever. What's the sports car? RT5, whatever it is. Yeah, R8. Yeah, there's one of those underneath, and then a Prius, a Hyundai, a Lincoln MKX. Like it's like, what the hell is going on?
You rarely see. They're few and far between where I live. And there's I think there's like a couple Ferraris in all of where I live. I mean, it has nothing to do with cars. It's just with those places come more money, more opportunity, more wealth. So there's more people that can advance you through the system of making money. You know what I mean? There's more if you want to get into real estate, there's more houses to sell at higher prices, better commissions. You know what I mean? Like, it's for sure give and take, you know. But for me, like guys in my area, I'm just like, hey man, buy a rental property for 100 grand, throw 15 in it, fix it up, and buy a duplex. You know, you're getting two rents out of it, or buy a duplex, live in one, and let the other pay your rent. You know what I mean? Like just little things like that. They're just not willing to let go of 15, 20 grand to do it.
Yeah, it's tough, you know, especially if you've never taught you. Oh, I saw my dad, you know, drop 50 grand into this house, and all of a sudden, when he goes to sell it, he made 500,000. Like there is no story like that for most of the fighters, and so they don't understand how to do that. They weren't raised with it, and so like when it's time to do it, they have no knowledge, like how to write a check, like how to write a check. Like it's like, what do you mean write a check? I don't know how to write a check. Like it's crazy how what things we are not taught,
and that's the problem. That's the problem is the things that we, not just as people, but as fighters, aren't like, nobody's addressing that. And that's, to me, that's the problem. It's not the problem, is nobody's addressing the problem is the problem. You know what I mean? Like nobody, and it's half of it's the fighter's fault. It's because once again, they come from broken homes or poverty. So they don't know how to listen. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's a busted system right now. I mean, I like where the sport's going. There's more money being involved and things are starting to, it looks like it's shaping up. I don't think it'll get fixed while I'm still fighting, but at least it's going in the right direction.
Well, maybe you can fix it when you get done fighting. Maybe that's the thing, because we've always talked about you can't work. You gotta love what you do. So it's not a job, otherwise you'll stop doing it. And you seem to have your eyes lit up, and you got all animated, and you started looking back and forth at Mark, and you're like, this is like one of the things you're really passionate about. Like this could be your next step.
No, it is because I was there once. You know what I mean? I know I've lived both lives. I've lived the life of like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my light bill this month. And then I've lived the life of like, hey, I got a little bit of money. What do I do with this so I never have to worry about my light bill ever again? And you just have to say no to one cookie now to say yes to 5 cookies later. You know, and that right there is the problem.
That's weird, because kind of how your diet is. Like, no cookie right now, man. But
no
fucking Monday, man, I'm having 5 on that drive home. I'm telling you right now, James. You know, thanks so much for coming on here again, man. It's been great. I love talking to you, and super insightful, and totally like once again we talked about you love pulling back the curtain and letting people know what's behind the scenes, not necessarily what they're going to see on Sunday, what goes into getting there on Sunday to be able to fight. So I appreciate it.
Likewise, bro. I always love coming on talking to you.